Ever find yourself cranking that AC on a sweltering day and wonder, like, who actually makes this stuff work? Who are the masterminds behind the scenes of, like, comfortable buildings?
The unsung heroes of climate control.
Exactly. And we're talking about HVAC and our drafters, right? We've had a ton of you reach out curious about this career path. And let me tell you, folks, it's way more interesting than it might seem.
Oh, absolutely. It's so much more than just blueprints.
Okay, so walk me through this. I've got a stack of guides here. They mention everything from like turning ideas into plans to working closely with engineers. It sounds like you need to be a special kind of person to handle all that.
It definitely takes a unique skill set, that's for sure. Imagine this. You're tasked with designing, say, the entire HVAC system for a historic building. You need to balance preserving the building's history, right, with modern efficiency standards. That's where the problem solving really comes in.
It's a puzzle.
A puzzle with huge stakes, right? And you're the bridge. You're the link between the engineers who develop the concepts and then the contractors who actually bring it all to life.
So you're telling me it's not just sitting at a computer all day. There's actual, like, collaboration involved.
Big time. And forget this idea that it's all stuffy office buildings, too. We're talking hospitals, schools, even industrial facilities.
Wow, so the range of projects is pretty diverse then.
A huge variety, yeah. Anywhere that needs climate control or refrigeration, you'll find an HVAC&R drafter involved.
Okay, so let's talk job market. Because out there it's a jungle. What's the deal with job security in this field? Because the guides keep mentioning high demand. But is that hype or is that real?
Oh, it's very real. Think about it. Buildings aren't going anywhere. Our need for climate control, it's not going anywhere. So that translates to a pretty stable career path.
Music to any job seeker's ears. But let's be real. One of these guides mentions good salary as a perk. But good is pretty subjective. What are we actually talking about here?
Yeah, you're right. Salary, it's not one size fits all. But if we look at these career stages outlined here, even entry-level drafters, they can expect a pretty comfortable living. And then obviously as you gain experience, you climb the ladder, those salaries, they take some pretty significant jumps.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, something that caught my eye, some sources mention this opportunity to work independently, which, that appeals to some people. But then there's also all this talk about collaboration. So how does that actually work in practice?
It's a balance, for sure. You might have certain tasks, like drafting specific sections of a system, where you're working more solo.
Right.
But you're always part of a larger team, especially during those crucial site visits. Remember, you're the link between the design and the real-world application. So that communication, that teamwork, it's essential.
Gotcha. So you're like the conductor of an orchestra, making sure all the parts work together in harmony.
Exactly. Okay, so let's say someone's listening to this, and they're totally hooked. They're like, this is it. I want to be an HVAC&R drafter. What does it actually take to make that happen?
Yeah, because looking at these educational requirements, it feels kind of intimidating. It's like you need an engineering degree just to even get your foot in the door.
It's not quite as rigid as it might seem. While a solid technical foundation is, of course, important, if you look closely, the sources mention the average highest level attained, implying some variation.
Okay, so there's hope for us non-engineers out there.
Absolutely. And if you look at the degree list, it's not just engineering. It includes architecture, construction management, even energy management.
Interesting.
Yeah, it just highlights the diverse range of skills that can lead you to this field.
So you're saying there's not just one path to success here. I like that. Now, speaking of skills, these sources are huge on internships. Like, they even suggest volunteering just to get your foot in the door. That's pretty solid advice.
It's invaluable, truly, because practical, hands-on experience, it speaks volumes, especially for entry-level positions.
Shows you're serious about it.
Exactly. It proves you're eager to learn and you're serious about the field.
Now, what about these certifications I keep seeing everywhere? CHD, LE Green Associate. Are these just fancy titles to add to your resume, or do they actually hold weight in the job market?
Some definitely carry more weight than others. The CHD, that stands for Certified HVAC Designer.
Okay, got it.
That one is huge in the industry. It shows you've mastered those core HVAC design principles.
It's like a stamp of approval.
Exactly. And then there's the LE Green Associate Certification, with sustainability being such a hot topic.
Which LED, just for anyone who might not know, stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. Basically, it's all about making buildings greener, more eco-friendly.
Exactly. And having that LED certification, it shows you're not just designing systems, you're designing with the environment in mind. You're thinking about the big picture.
It's a big deal. All right, so we've got all these aspiring HVAC and R drafters raring to go. Let's map out this career. Well, from entry level all the way up to like senior drafter. And what I find encouraging, at least for someone just starting out, is that you're not expected to know everything on day one.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
There's a lot of on-the-job learning in those early stages.
Like you're basically a sponge soaking it all up.
Exactly. Mentorship, too.
Yep.
It's all about building a strong foundation. And then as you progress, you get more responsibility, more opportunities to really make your mark.
Speaking of moving up that career ladder, and speaking of ladders, I've got to ask about this RoleCatcher thing. It's like everywhere in these guides.
Yeah, you're not imagining things. They're definitely a big presence.
Is it just me, or is this some next level product placement? Because wow.
It's definitely prominent. But hey, that doesn't mean it's not worth a closer look, right?
Mm-hmm.
In today's job market, any edge you can get.
Right. Gotta play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
So let's break this down. RoleCatcher. They're making some pretty bold claims. AI-tailored resumes, interview practice with AI feedback. It's like we're living in the future or something.
It can feel a little sci-fi, right?
Yeah.
But let's put aside the hype for a second and really look at the potential value here, especially for someone, say, like you, who's exploring this field. Their job matching feature, for example, could be incredibly useful.
Okay, so tell me about that. How does that work?
So you input your skills, right? And then RoleCatcher, it scans job descriptions and looks for those keywords, those matching skills. Basically, it helps you cut through the noise and find those potential opportunities that align with what you bring to the table.
So instead of me spending hours on those job boards, scrolling endlessly.
Exactly. Think of it like almost like a digital headhunter working for you in the background.
Okay, that's kind of cool.
Right.
But the AI resume builder, I'll be honest, I'm a little more skeptical about that one. I don't know, it just feels like one of those, like, too good to be true kind of things.
And you're right to be cautious because no algorithm can replace, the human touch, the art of crafting a really compelling narrative.
Yeah, your unique story.
Exactly. But think of it as a tool for optimization. It analyzes your resume, checks for keywords, makes sure your formatting is consistent.
So more of like a digital assistant, not like it's going to write my resume for me.
Precisely. It's about catching those small details that might be holding you back, making sure you stand out for the right reasons.
I can get behind that. Now, one feature, and I was actually surprised by this, but one feature that I do find really helpful, even with all the AI hype, is the interview practice section.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
I could use that back in the day, let me tell you.
Right. They have this massive database of interview questions, and they're specific to different industries, including HVAC and R drafting. And you can actually record yourself answering these questions.
Get all the jitters out beforehand.
Right. And you can get feedback on your delivery, your tone. Some even have a video feature if you really want to analyze your body language.
Okay, that's huge. It's like having a personal interview coach in your pocket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, even if you don't go all in on the AI feedback, just having access to that question bank alone is invaluable.
Absolutely. Because knowing what to expect, being able to practice, that just boosts your confidence. And that can make all the difference in an interview.
All the difference.
So it sounds like RoleCatcher, while being, heavily promoted in these guides,
Really, yes.
might actually offer some genuinely helpful tools, especially for someone just starting their journey in HVAC and R.
100%. And it all ties back to this idea we talked about earlier, about HVAC and R being a constantly evolving field.
Right. Always changing.
And just as software is changing how drafters work,
Right.
These online platforms are changing how they find jobs, how they navigate their careers.
It's like you've got to level up your job hunting skills at the same time.
Exactly. It's not just about learning the technical stuff anymore. You got to stay ahead of the curve in the job market, too.
So true. So we've got this evolving field, new technologies popping up left and right. What does that actually look like in practice? I mean, are we talking about like drafting for robots that install the air conditioners now?
Well, not quite robot installation yet. Give it time.
Yeah.
But you're on the right track.
Okay, good.
Tech integration, it's huge. These days, drafters are using some seriously sophisticated software. We're talking 3D modeling, energy analysis, even virtual reality simulations.
Whoa, wait, hold up. VR for HVAC?
That's wild.
It's pretty amazing. You can basically step inside your designs.
That's insane. So we're talking about like a whole other level of detail compared to the old school pen and paper days.
Absolutely. It's night and day. And it's not just about the tools themselves. It's how they're used to create smarter, more efficient systems and more sustainable systems, too. Speaking of sustainability, we keep coming back to this, and the guides mention LED certification a lot. But what does that actually look like in action? Like if you're an HVAC&R drafter and you're working on a LED certified building, how does that change your approach to the project?
Ooh, that's a great question. Because it really gets to the heart of how this field is evolving. You're not just designing a system to meet some basic requirements anymore. You're thinking about energy efficiency, indoor air quality, the overall environmental impact.
So it's a more holistic way of approaching design. You're considering the bigger picture.
Exactly. You might find yourself incorporating solar panels into your designs, or geothermal heating, even rainwater harvesting systems.
Wow. Okay, so it's not just about keeping people comfortable. You're actually helping to build a more sustainable future.
Now you're getting it. That's exactly what's so exciting about this field. And it brings us back to that career ladder we were talking about. As the demand for these sustainable solutions grows.
Which it will.
Oh, absolutely. The need for drafters who can design, implement, and manage these systems, that's going to skyrocket.
So those senior level positions we talked about, the ones leading teams, optimizing designs, those are going to require a very specific skill set. You need that deep understanding of HVAC&R, but also the latest in green building practices.
You hit the nail on the head. And that's where those certifications, that LEED accreditation, those become incredibly valuable. They show potential employers you're not just keeping up, you're ahead of the game.
You're leading the charge.
Exactly.
It's pretty amazing to think about the impact, right? Like what a skilled HVAC&R drafter can accomplish, especially now with this global push for, a greener future. It's not just about keeping buildings comfy anymore. It's about designing systems that work with the environment, not against it.
And that's what makes it such an exciting time to be entering this field.
Yeah.
You're not just inheriting old practices. You have a chance to really shape the future of design.
We've covered a ton in this deep dive, everything from the day-to-day stuff to the career paths, the evolving skills you need. But before we wrap things up, I want to circle back to something you mentioned earlier, this idea of the why behind the design.
Yes, that's so important because as an HVAC&R drafter, you're not just putting lines on paper, you're making choices that have a real impact on the world, energy consumption, air quality, even just the comfort and well-being of the people who use those spaces.
So it's about understanding the bigger picture, how it all connects, and how your designs play a role in creating a more sustainable world.
100%. It's about looking beyond the technical stuff and tapping into that human element.
That's pretty powerful.
It is. And it's something I want you to keep in mind as you continue exploring this field, Ask yourself, what are my values? What kind of impact do I want to make? Those questions, they'll stick with you.
And the answers, they might change over time, right? As you gain more experience, as the technology evolves, as you face new challenges. It's kind of exciting and a little daunting at the same time.
It is. But that's what makes it a career, not just a job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in a world that's constantly changing, demanding new solutions, new ways of thinking, HVAC&R drafters, they're the ones who can really make a difference.
And for anyone listening who's feeling that spark, that pull towards a field that's both technical and, like we said, deeply human-centered, remember, this isn't the end of your deep dive. It's just the beginning.
Exactly. Keep asking questions. Keep that curiosity alive because, honestly, we need more people like you, thoughtful, skilled, and passionate about building a better future.
Couldn't have said it better myself. A future that's both comfortable and sustainable. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.